Okay, here I am ready to build up on my coil pot. I let it sit out for an hour or two and it firmed up. So you can see if I just wiggle it gently, it's not like all floppy like a lasagna noodle. It's a nice semi-stiff putty. I can still move it, so if I want to, change the shape at all, I can still do that, but it's firm. So again, sort of rubbery leather hard. As usual, if it gets too hard and you find out that the shape is not symmetrical and not right, you can just wet it down, do a little smoothing, which I'll show you soon, and it'll soften right back up. If it's too soft, just leave it out a little longer before you work on it. One thing I forgot to mention with the templates is always write top on the top of it, because that way you won't inadvertently turn it upside down and wonder, but I know it fit perfectly last time. And if it's not perfectly symmetrical top to bottom, you'll be like, why is this not working? Almost everything I tell you like this, it's because I've done it myself too. So it's a memory of that that's coming to mind. Okay. One other thing, when you've let it firm up, if you let it firm up too much and the clay is no longer soft at the top, then it will, oh wait, I've got to get something. I'll be right back. So if it firms up so much that it's not kind of gooey up at the top anymore, this is almost like, as I pinch it, it's hard to pinch. It's like it's not like fresh dough anymore. It's pretty stiff. What'll happen is you'll lay the next coil on top of here, and it will seem to stick because gravity is your friend, but as clay dries, it shrinks. And what will happen is all of this will shrink away from the newer coils, and you'll get a little crack here. And a lot of the things I warn you about are things that can be fixed and are easy to fix, and it's just work, and I'm just trying to keep you from having to backtrack all the time. But this is one where sometimes it doesn't show up till it's fired. So I've inserted a photo in this explanation of a beautiful pot where one of those cracks happened because she hadn't done what I'm about to show you. So unless your clay is really soft on the rim so that you can easily pinch it, like right now, if I pinch really gently, nothing happens. I have to pinch pretty hard to be able to pinch it. You could use your tools. So you could use your craft stick, or I've got a bamboo skewer handy, and just sort of cut into the clay. So you want to cut pretty deeply. I always call these tiger scratches, no kitty scratches. If you want to do it a little quicker, and you have a fork that can be used for this kind of stuff, I mean, stick it in the dishwasher. It'll get the clay off, and stick it in the dishwasher. It'll be fine. Or a fairly sturdy fast food fork will work well. So one that comes from a nicer fast food place, as opposed to one where they have really flimsy ones. So you want your clay to all look like that. And then what you want to do is you want to just take your sponge and just dab a little wet. Just get it a little wet. And if it's so firm that you can't even cut into it easily, get it wet, cut into it as much as you can, get it wet, and then just go over it again. And so that will create kind of a nice gooey, moist area for you to build on top of, and the new clay will easily stick to the old clay. So when you're adding, some of you have done ceramics before, you've done, it's called score and slip. So the slip is just the water mixing in with the clay. Score means to cut into it. You don't need to do that after every coil. It's just when you let it firm up, and then the clay has gotten firm on the rim, that you need to do that before you add your next coil. So now I'm going to pause. I'm going to make a bunch of coils so that you don't have to sit here watching. You might remember I told you this part wasn't as important as you would think it would be, and that it was the side parts that you're really going to use to keep the shape. But this is important for one thing, which is sometimes my students, they overwork and they work with it while it's soft like this, and they stretch it all out, and it just kind of collapses and turns into a much larger thing than they intended. So you'll notice that right now mine is still on track to the size that it was meant to be. So if yours does not matching the size. If there's, try to put it inside and there's a big gap between it and the edges, then you've just gotten too far. And in the classroom, I can help you fix that. But in this case, remotely, I really can't. So it'll just be your, your experience. So unfortunately, what you're just going to have to do, if it is starting to get much wider than your original project, even if the sides are following the way they wanted, but if it's collapsed and it's just gotten much wider, you'll just have to ball it up and start all over again, which is just, part of working remotely. I think I've mentioned some of my ceramics colleagues think of this as just pure process, and they're not really. They're just having people kind of try things and ball them up. And I really do want you to get a product, but getting towards that product may be frustrating at times, and you just may have to do things 2 or 3 times before you finally get it right. So just remember, whenever you're adding coils, whenever you're changing the shape, just try to handle the clay as little as possible. Try to let it firm up as much as possible in between times. Don't try to refine it like I just did when it's still a little bit soft. I wanted to, get this done and get you a video of it being refined, but really wait until it's firmed up quite a bit before you refine it, and then it won't collapse on you.